Hey everybody, Juan here, and this is going to be a quick video first impression of the Samsung Odyssey on Verizon Wireless, a Windows Phone 8 device. We were really surprised that it took Samsung this long to get into the Windows Phone 8 marketplace, the ecosystem. After phones like the Focus, where they were really sort of driving Windows Phone 7 and Windows Phone 7.5 devices, that they sort of ceded the market to HTC and to Nokia with some of the mid-range and high-end handsets. But we finally have the Ativ Odyssey in-house, and we just kind of wanted to walk around the phone a little bit just to show off some of what you'll get for a mid-range Windows Phone 8 device. Okay, guys, let's take a quick walk around the hardware on the Ativ. Ativ, I have no idea what. Let's call it the Odyssey. Let's take a quick walk around the hardware on the Odyssey. We're dealing with a 3.8-inch-ish AMOLED display. It kind of feels a little like old school Galaxy S, if you remember those old school Galaxy S phones, especially because the resolution on Windows Phone for the entry-level devices is locked to WVGA, which is 800 by 480. Down at the bottom, you've got your standard search, Windows Home, and back keys. This is consistent across the entire Windows Phone ecosystem. At the top of the device, we have our front-facing camera for video calling and taking photos of yourself without having to use a mirror. Guys, you can do that now. It's cool. You don't have to take bathroom shots anymore if you want to look good. We've got an ambient light sensor right here at the side. That's our earpiece. We've got a microphone down at the bottom. We've got a microphone at the top next to the headphone jack. This is for noise cancellation. The right-hand side of the device, we've got our power button on the side for your thumb, the dual stage camera button for focusing and for taking pictures. At the bottom, we've got our micro USB port. The back, we've got the 5-megapixel shooter, which can do 1080p video, and LED flash right next to it. Verizon's humongous garish branding, which I don't really like this check mark. I think that just looks incomplete. And then I do like the sort of aesthetic of the chrome around the sides. I know chrome can look kind of cheap, this fake plastic chromey stuff, but I like how this sort of fits with the speaker grill. The separation right here for the rear-facing speaker. I think that looks cool. It looks kind of Star Trek-y in my opinion. So this is one of the few fake chrome devices that I actually think looks kind of clean. On the left-hand side of the device, we've got the volume rocker. Not too exciting there, but down here, we've got one of the more exciting aspects of this device is this door right here covers a slot for a micro SD card. So unlike phones like the Lumia 920, which is Premier, this little guy can upgrade storage up to 32 gigs in micro SD card form. Not bad considering on-device storage is only 8 gigabytes. So firing this puppy up, it's Windows Phone 8. And this is maybe one of the snappiest implementations of Windows Phone 8 that I've ever had the chance to play with. This lower resolution screen just doesn't tax the hardware quite as much as some of the 720p devices that I've played with. I've got a lot of updates to do on this. I should probably do that. So, if you're familiar with Windows Phone, you're going to be familiar with this phone here. And, even though the lower resolution isn't quite as nice as some of the newer Android entry-level and mid-range phones, this performs to a degree much better than a lot of those cheaper devices that we've played with in the past. Now, the one area where there can be some customization is in the app collection. And so where Nokia has their Nokia collection, their Nokia suite of apps, Samsung has the Samsung Zone. And so we're going to take a quick look at what apps you get with a Samsung device. So Samsung Now is a magazine-style newsreader. Samsung Chat On is a service that I've never used. The Music Hub, I couldn't get to work. The photo editor is actually pretty nice. Once you take a shot, it gives you the ability to kind of cut up. It feels a lot like Nokia's Creative Suite. The Mini Diary, I don't really write a diary, but I do use it to kind of jot down short notes, things that I want to check back on. The RSS Times is another sort of RSS reading device. It's a great way to sort of subscribe to your apps. And I have no idea what this co-build is. Oh, it's a dictionary. So that's cool. It's got British flags on it. I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. Not the best collection of apps, and this is maybe one of the biggest differentiating factors between the Samsung collection of Windows phones and the Nokia collection of Windows phones is when we come in and we check out what apps you get on a Lumia. Here, let me just get that out of the way there. And then the Nokia collection, we can see a lot more activity on Nokia's end in just delivering software services for their customers. And then also just sort of pointing out to people what kind of games you can play on the device, what kind of navigation options, lenses for your camera, music services. Nokia's collection here just feels a lot better fleshed out. So if you were shopping a Lumia 820 versus the Samsung Odyssey, the Odyssey might come up a little short in terms of software. And of course, I would be remiss in my tech blogging duties if I didn't show you guys phone storage. So I have a 16 gigabyte card in here right now. We're going to let this device just sort of kick back on. And now we see two different bars for what kind of storage is remaining on the device and on the memory card. And that's just great. I love seeing Windows Phone evolve to this degree. And now, especially with the NT kernel on Windows Phone 8, being able to plug this phone into a micro USB cable and then pop it onto your laptop or your desktop and just transfer files back and forth very easily to move over music or move pictures and videos on and off the device just makes Windows Phone 8 a much, much more compelling option for getting work done over the course of the day than we ever had with Windows Phone 7.5. That's a revolutionary leap. That's not even evolution. That's a revolutionary leap for the platform, and I'm really, really glad to see it. And so going back to a smaller screen device, again, showing you what the size difference is between a, whoops, I'm doing this sideways, what the size difference is between a Lumia and a Samsung Odyssey, just seeing how much smaller this little guy is. It's hard going back to a smaller screen device. I miss having the larger keyboard. You know, just how much bigger that keyboard is when you're trying to type stuff out, especially with my clumsy thumbs. But according to other companies, it's a good thing because now my thumb can go from here to here and from here to there. So, you know, having a one-handed device, that's actually kind of a nice little ergonomic concern. So when you're really comparing these two phones, for example, or like an HTC 8X or any other sort of larger screened Android device like this Pantech, if you care about things like being able to use your phone one-handed to type out different messages and stuff, then you might actually want to start considering the entry-level Windows Phone devices because they have almost exactly the same hardware as their big brothers and big sisters and larger cousins. This uses the exact same Qualcomm dual-core crate as this does. They have the same amount of RAM, you know. So performance, you're not actually going to be punished with poorer performance by going with a smaller phone, a cheaper phone, an entry-level phone. Where you will have a trade-off is on things like camera quality, where the Lumia definitely stands much, much taller, but you also have to weigh how you use the camera. And we'll have some camera samples for the Odyssey coming out soon, just so you can see what the differences might be between the camera in an entry-level phone and the camera in a premier phone. So the last little thing I want to talk about with the Samsung, and it's kind of hard to explain, is the feel of the vibration, the haptic feedback and the vibrate on when you're getting a phone call is really unique. on the Odyssey. It feels unlike any other phone that I've used in the past. Even so much so, and I won't be able to really demonstrate this, but even when you tap the back of the phone, you can feel a residual spring, a springy effect happening from the vibrator on this device. So what you're struck with when you pick up a Windows Phone 8 device, it's really interesting watching what companies are doing to differentiate themselves in the Windows Phone ecosystem. Microsoft has such strict control over what can be inside the phone and what software can be run on the phone that the experience is very consistent. That's not necessarily a bad thing, as I really appreciate that these entry-level and mid-range phones don't punish the consumer. You know, you can pick up a phone that's only $50 on contract, and it feels a lot like a phone that's going to be $100 on contract. And when you compare it to the Android ecosystem, it feels pretty similar to a phone that might be $100 or $200 on contract. But that also means that to meet certain price points, other factors have to be taken into consideration. Things like recycling hardware. This is very much a sister to the or I guess I should say a cousin, because they run a different operating system, to the Rugby Pro. It's a very similar screen. It's almost exactly the same camera module. Thankfully, you do have the 1080p video recording. This is rugged. This isn't. This is Verizon. This is AT&T. But you really do feel like Samsung took off-the-shelf parts that they were already making money on to make this phone somewhat less expensive. However, because of those strict controls, you kind of look at how well a phone like the Lumia 920 performs, and the higher resolution screen actually takes a performance hit on the exact same chipset. So the fact that this is a lower resolution screen device and this is a higher resolution screen device means that performance actually feels a little bit snappier here on the budget handset than it does on the higher end handset. So what is higher end? Higher end means a slightly larger battery and a much nicer camera module. And of course the aesthetics play into it as well, and the wireless charging. But the budget handset has a couple neat tricks, like giving you the option of putting in your own micro SD card for additional storage. So for me personally, it's kind of a tough choice. If I walk into a Verizon store and I'm shopping for a Windows Phone 8 handset, there are a lot of pros and cons working back and forth between the other devices, like, the Lumia 820 and this phone right here. Do I value upgradable storage more than I value the Nokia collection of apps which run on Nokia devices? Thankfully, this does have Nokia Drive, but it doesn't have Nokia Transit. It doesn't have Nokia Music. It doesn't have a number of other services that you kind of start taking for granted on a Lumia being one of the premier devices in the Windows Phone lineup. It's kind of a tricky call, and it's something that I'll definitely be investigating more as I go through using the device for our full review. So guys, this has been a look at the Samsung Ativ Odyssey on Verizon Wireless. We're going to have a full review posted on yourtechreport.com. Probably take us about 2 weeks or so just to kind of collect all of our media and our samples. Again, I like getting you guys good camera samples, good video samples, so I want to make sure that we've got those front and center. I want to play with how removable storage works on Windows Phone. I think that's just kind of interesting, and it's definitely interesting on sort of an entry-level handset. And yeah, check back for that. And then we're also going to be talking about the Motorola Defy XT coming up soon on Republic Wireless, so definitely check back in for that. In the meantime, I'm Juan. This is the Samsung Odyssey Windows Phone 8 on Verizon Wireless, this guy right here. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next video.